So where can we start? The beginning?
The beginning.
The very beginning?
Back to where it all began.
When you were a little munchkin, a little kid? When was the first time that you felt like, oh my God, there's, I have a different energy level, or I have a different sparkle than other people, like there's something going on?
I'd have to say primary school. I remember we'd get assignments and I would be thinking to myself, like, as we're getting the assignment, just you need to go home, sit down at the dinner table with Dad for like 2 hours and get it done, and then it'll be done and you can go and play. And it was like every afternoon, allocated time, Dad would help me. And in my mind, it wasn't about how I was going to get it done. It was just like, it was more about the time, right? If I sit there, it'll happen. But I didn't understand really what the assignment was or what I needed to do, or like connecting the dots almost.
Okay.
I just knew somehow it would happen and it would be fine and it would get done.
Yeah.
Probably relying on Dad a lot with that.
Yeah. It sounds like he was a big support.
Yeah, definitely. Mum and Dad both were, but from my, vague memory of that time, like I was a assignment about New Zealand and we had family friends over there and she was sending me notes and coins, and it was like, I remember it so clearly. The book was covered in like gold wrapping paper.
Yeah.
I was sticking the coins down and I remember it so clearly. But
such a good memory.
Yeah, really good memory about weird things that just don't really matter.
So you would get an assignment, but you needed Dad.
Yeah, always needed someone.
You needed.
Always.
Okay. And if you were to ever not have Dad?
Good luck.
Okay. What would it feel like? What would have happened? It just wouldn't get done.
I think in primary school I didn't even think about that because Mum and Dad were just always there. Like, they were always there for me. I think more high school. I remember sitting in class and I remember staring at a teacher, blank in the eye, fully thinking I was concentrating. Couldn't tell you a word of what she said or what we were talking about. Like, I had no idea. And we'd go around the room and I remember she'd make everyone read and I read perfectly. Like, it all made sense, grammar, pronunciation, everything. I couldn't tell you what it was about or what I read. It was just like, just focus on the words, get the words out.
Why do you think that was?
I wasn't interested. I had no interest in anything. I didn't even know where I was. Like, I was at school. I was laughing at the boys to the next to me, like flicking pens in the roof. I was never naughty. It was never me. I was always the angel. And I think that's why I didn't get picked up for so long, because I would just quietly giggle and focus on what's to the left or right instead of, being naughty. But I remember even then, like, teachers talking about assignments, and in my head I would say, I had these two best friends, Sam and Beck, and I'd say, it's fine, don't stress about it now because they'll explain it to me later, or I'll just go to their house after school and we'll do it together. It was like a high dependency on other people.
Yeah.
Look, at the time I didn't even know what ADHD was. I was like in year 8 or year 9.
Yeah.
I just knew like when's recess, what time's recess, how long till recess, what's Mum packed me, and just getting through the next period. Like, it was just getting through. It was all about time. It wasn't even about what I'm going to have to do in the next period. It was time. Same with tests. Like, I remember my year 10 exam, right? School certificate. Instead of learning about this essay that I had to write, couldn't tell you the topic. I memorized word for word a 4-page essay.
What?
I don't even know what it was about.
You memorized word for word?
Every night.
4-page essay?
Yes.
Because you couldn't retain the information any other way.
I was like, this is how that's going to get done. If I'm expected to sit in a class and write a 4-page essay, I'm going to have to memorize it word for word. And I would write one sentence, stop the next sentence, 2 sentences.
And is that because you just thought, if I don't memorize it, I'm going to go blank?
Yeah. Correct.
Because you're like, I'm not going to remember this stuff. It's boring.
Correct.
Is that
I'm
why?
going to forget everything that I'd studied for, because all of my knowledge with tests, assignments, everything, it was in one ear, out the other.
So the forgetfulness.
I couldn't retain it. Yeah. I wasn't learning. I wasn't retaining. Yeah. And, I'd look around the room and I'd think, people are asking questions. People are interested. I was asking questions, but it was about information that they'd already told. So it got to the point where, like, in maths class, I'll never forget it, Mr. Harubi, He was a funny guy. He was a funny guy. And look, I had the greatest
Mr.
year at school.
Harubi.
Mr. Harubi. I'll never forget him. I was the bane of his existence, I think. And our year was so fun and so supportive. Like, I was never bullied once or anything like that, but
that's so nice.
It was comforting. And I think that's another reason why, like, I just floated through school.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll never forget this one day, and I had my best mate, Justin Keane, sitting next to me, and he was worse than I was. And he was, like, doing toy figurines in his pencil case, and I'm trying to listen, and he'd ask a question, and I put my hand up, and I'd see the pause on him, and he'd turn to me, and he'd be like, Claire. And I'd give it a shot. And at the same time, myself, him, and the whole class would just laugh. And he ended up saying, it's like, not what she said, like the opposite of what she said. Like, she couldn't be any further off the mark.
Oh, my God. But you had to go.
Always. I always had my hand up. The teacher's probably like, put your hand.
But that probably helped you to be a little bit more engaged.
Yeah, definitely.
And talking to people, putting your hand up, like, at least you're trying to be present, right?
Yeah, always. I was always trying. I was. I think it got to the point where, like, later on in high school, I started to feel like I was just a week behind everyone else. Like, people would be talking, and I was friends with majority of people in my year. It wasn't like we had different groups, but we all floated, we were all friendly, and you'd hear people talking about, you know, an event that was on next Wednesday at school, and I'm like, how do you know about that? I don't know about that. Like, we got a note last week. Oh, that went in my bag and gave it to Mum. Like, I didn't read it.
Yeah.
I was like, probably incorrect to say this, but like boy mentality, like it was just nothing mattered. I had no interest, nothing mattered. If it mattered, someone would help me do it.
Someone else would do it.
I'd get through it. Time. It was just like, got to wait time. That's all it was.
So you had a lot of good supportive relationships.
Yeah, I did.
And how did it feel being dependent on them at that time, like in your life? Not now, but back then.
I didn't know I was dependent on them. I think it was more...
Didn't realise.
It was just an innocent, like, oh, it's fun. We'll do the assignment together.
Yeah, yeah. And you're a social butterfly, get along with everyone.
Yeah. And I think I masked it well because I'd make humour of it. And, you know, I was friends with a lot of people, and I like all different kinds of people. And I had, you know, good friendships, and everyone was kind of like laughing and like give her the excuse or, you know, benefit of the doubt or good for trying, but I was never embarrassed. Like I would always, even in, I chose to study law in year 11 and 12.
Did you?
Legal study.
Were you interested in it?
Yeah, hell yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I wasn't good at it though.
But you were interested.
Yeah, but again, I'd listen to the teacher and I'd look teacher dead in the eye and say to myself, Claire, focus, like really try. Couldn't tell you what the topic was.
So that's interesting because even if you were interested, you were still struggling to focus.
Oh, yeah.
Why do you think?
Because, again, I felt like everyone around me already had this, like, it's like they'd already done a course and they knew all the basics. Like, I needed it dumbed down for me, like layman terms or like, you know, legal for dummies. Like, it's like I'd missed out on a class that everyone else had already been to, and everyone's looking at me like, we just went through that. And I'm like, oh, sorry, I wasn't listening. Like, and I'm sitting there like this, looking at the teacher, looking at people answering questions, like reading the textbook, trying. I just couldn't get it.
And at the time, did you not like, or even looking back now, do you notice if it was like the verbal instructions, the written material, like could you differentiate between the two of like trying to absorb that information?
I loved when they put movies on. Like, sure.
But if they were talking, if you were reading.
At that point, I didn't even know how I learned. I think if I liked the teacher, like my English teacher, I loved her, I know that I was more attentive, but
yeah,
it was like you'd tell yourself, listen and pay attention, but I then couldn't then relay what was being told. Like, I remember it would have been year 9, Mum's like numbers for me, just mush in my head. Don't even talk to me about numbers. Can't do it. Mum's like, we're going to get you a maths tutor.
Okay.
She knew a lady and the lady's son was at uni studying maths. He's like, I can help her. So every Saturday morning he'd come over and we'd sit down at the dinner table parallel to the kitchen. Mum worked from home, so she was out of the kitchen. Dad, same thing. And he once he got to know me, and Mum and Dad give me a pep talk beforehand. I'm like, yep, no, got it, got to focus, got to concentrate, no phone, no nothing.
Yeah.
And he'd ask me a question, and we'd be this far apart,
mm-hmm.
and then I'm like, yep, and he goes, what did I just ask you? And I was like, I've got no idea. And at that point, Dad was in the kitchen. He came in and he heard the whole conversation, and he just burst out laughing. He was just like, Claire, like
what?
I know. And I'm like, I know, I'm really trying. I can't, I don't
you were trying.
I was like, when's this over? I'm done. I want to go play in the street. Like, get out of here.
But you did try.
I did try.
I think you did.
I did, but I was thinking about like what was for lunch or
something else more fun.
Yeah. And or like how curly his hair was, you know, like just dumb stuff.
And your parents, like at that time, were they like, oh, we need to get her assessed, like there's something going on?
Oh, no. Like I wasn't hyperactive. I was really calm. I was quiet. Not quiet, but I was like reserved. If I was listening, I wasn't shooting pens in the ceiling or, you know, being naughty. And
so the hyperactivity not there, but
not at all.
The difficulty paying attention.
Huge.
So still they didn't think to get assessed at that time, and the teachers didn't mention anything?
No, it was never picked up by any of the teachers at all. Mum and Dad, no, not at all. I don't think it obviously wasn't out of care. It was just like ADHD wasn't really a thing back then. Like it wasn't common. And if it was, they were the kids bouncing off the walls that you couldn't calm down.
Because you're not the hyperactive type, and a female presentation looks very different to a male presentation.
So much.
Yeah,
and
which we now know more about.
Oh, like I look back now and I think,
why didn't we know what we know now?
Correct.
So none of the teachers.
Not one.
None of them mentioned anything. Did they think, oh, Claire's smart, you know, when we talked to her, but then...
They say every parent-teacher meeting was, Claire's great. She asks a lot of questions, which obviously, if anyone knows me. But if she just applied herself, and Mum would say, oh, I tell her all the time, like if she applied herself to learning the subject as she did to learning lyrics to a song, but I would try so hard to get the new pencil case for school start of the year. I'm like, I'm going to try this year. No, never happened. It just never happened.
You just couldn't. So how did you get through year 11 and 12?
I got no idea.
But you still made it, didn't you? Like you finished, you went to year 11, you went to year 12.
Yep.
You had the tutor still? Or did he?
No, he didn't last long. I think he knew his all scores.
Okay, but you still stayed in, like year 11 and 12, you got through it, help of dad, friends.
Yeah, everyone. I think, you know, Mum and Dad were so great. They always said to me, as long as you try, like there's no expectation, like just try, just give it your all, and that's it. I was so lucky.
So much
like
support.
That. Yeah, that was so good to me.
And how do you feel you went with your marks? Like year 11 and 12. Do you know what they are? No,
I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you.
Do you think like you could have got better, could have not?
If I was medicated, yeah. Absolutely. I always say I'd love to go back and do school again.
Yeah, but on medication.
At this age, yeah.
So after high school,
yeah,
how long until you actually found some answers about why you struggled so much?
Yeah, so it was maybe 6 years later. I think I was 23.
Wow.
Look, my maths isn't good. I graduated when I was 17.
But around 6 years later, yeah.
And
so what year was that? 2000 and...
I graduated in 2010. Oh,
yeah.
Babe,
so 2016?
Yeah, about that.
Around then. Okay, so around 2016. Yep.
I was working... I just fell into jobs. I still didn't know what I wanted to do. And I was working for some psychiatrists in Neutral Bay, and, you know, I was really close with them. Like, we go to family barbecues. Like, they knew me very well. And one day, one of them pulled me into her room and she said, you're over this place. You're done. Where are you going? What are you doing? And I was like... Oh,
wow. Just out of the blue.
Yeah.
She told was really, you're over this place.
Yeah. I must have been bitching about it to her or something. I must have been frustrated. And she pulled me in and she was like, what are you going to do? Go to uni, like study psychology if that's what you want. And I said, yeah, I'd love to, but I can't go to uni. Like, what do you mean? I can't do that. Like, that's like school.
Because you knew that you couldn't sit and study. And
I'd tried studying like event management. I started hairdressing. I started, I had epiphanies constantly and none of them ever came to fruition. And I'd start a diet. I'd print out every page. I put in laminating color, like didn't open the book ever again, like it's just, and she was like, what do you mean you can't go to uni? And I said, I just can't. I was no good at school. Like it's going to be the same. And then I'm going to have a huge doubt on top of it. And she said, Claire, I've known you for a long time and I think you should get assessed for ADHD.
Wow.
Yeah. And she said, I obviously can't do it, but there's lots of psychiatrists here that could.
She'd known you for 6 years.
No, she'd probably only known me for about 4 then.
Okay.
Nearly 5.
Yeah. Decent amount of time though.
Yeah.
So you were still early 20s?
Yeah. 23.
And you'd worked in that job and it was what again?
I was, like medical secretary for them.
Medical secretary.
Yeah.
Okay.
I worked with them every day, and we'd be in contact out of hours. Like it was insane. It was great. I learned so much.
She pulled you aside. Obviously, she thought you were smart enough to go to university.
She did.
Otherwise, I'm sure she wouldn't have mentioned it.
Yeah.
So she pulled you aside, said, yep, should go. And then when she said, I think you should get assessed for ADHD, how did that feel for you?
I was a bit shocked because I thought, like, I'm fine. Like, I can sit still. ADHD.
Yeah. You had that stereotype sort of, that's the kids that are bouncing off the walls, like you said. Yeah.
The kids that we treat here, or the adults we treat here.
And they're doing all, like, the wrong thing. They're breaking rules. They're causing problems. You didn't do that, so how could it be you?
And then I was like, what do you mean? Like, where to from here? What the hell do I do? And she's like, why don't you ask Dr. Blah, blah? And I did. I knew him also very well.
Yeah.
And he agreed to have me assessed. And I said, look, I will also see another psychiatrist that I don't know just for my own sake because
nice and thorough.
Just something I needed to do, which he understood. But he had a chat with me for like 10 minutes and was like, Claire.
Only 10 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, the appointment went longer for that, but with the first 10, he was like,
He was like, okay. What do you remember what sort of questions he asked you? No.
There was no form. There was no, and this has been my whole experience. I've seen like 7 different psychiatrists.
So they've just done like a conversational, semi-structured interview.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's lasted how long?
Each appointment?
Yeah.
Oh, an hour.
Okay.
But probably just me talking, and every response, and no disrespect to any of these psychiatrists, they're highly recommended, like highly
absolutely
psychiatrists. They all kind of just said if the shoe fits and if the medication is helping you and it's regulating everything, it's clearly working. But I'm thinking this medication would have this effect on nearly everyone because it's a stimulant. It would help anyone concentrate and it would give anyone a rush of, a dopamine hit and feel good. And I think that's where, like, I'm very thorough. Like, you know me, I've got questions, babe. I've got
those questions.
Those questions. And if they're not answered, that does not get put to bed.
Yeah.
I will not sleep. I will not eat. I will not be able to function until I have those
questions.
Literally. So obviously this whole time I've got a lot of trust in these doctors. They knew me so well. They'd seen me go through getting engaged, breaking up the engagement, life changes, like moving house, everything.
And the day-to-day at work.
Correct.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, I did that job so well. Like, I was so organised. I was, very forgetful in a few things. But overall, like, I ran that place. And I look back now and I think, how did I do that unmedicated?
Interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, because I was interested in it. As I got older, I was like, I like this.
But if we go back to, like, say, at school, you did say you were interested in law, but it just must not have been as interested as you needed to be.
I think it was too smart for me.
Yeah.
So I think the work I was doing with the psychiatrist was stuff that I could understand. And because I was seeing it, patients coming in, I was physically seeing the state that they were in. I was having conversations with them before they'd even seen the psychiatrist.
Yeah.
Like, it got to the point where one day one of the psychiatrists pulled me in his room and he's like, I don't know what's wrong with him. It's either this or this, and I need you to tell me what you think because I know he talks to you. I know you've got a good rapport with him and you see a different side to him and he tells you things he doesn't tell me. What do you think? And I was like looking over my shoulder like, me? And I was like, that's a huge compliment.
Psychiatrist asking for your opinion because he built such an incredible rapport.
Yeah. I think I picked up on things that other people didn't. Like I'd be like, did you see the way his hand was tremoring? Like maybe he's relapsed.
Yeah.
Or, you know, like maybe there's something wrong with the medications. And everyone around me was like, no, what do you mean? And I was like, as if you didn't notice that. Or as if you didn't notice that he was like, hadn't showered or hadn't done his hair and normally he comes in a suit. Like, you know, there were so many things.
I think when it comes to the law, because I don't think it's that it was too smart for you. I don't think that at all. I think it was that the work was so interactive.
Yeah, correct.
There's a lot happening, right? You know, you're talking to real people about real cases. At school, it's like, oh, yeah, read this thing.
In 45-minute periods, mind you.
Yeah. There's not much happening. You're sitting there, you're reading. It doesn't feel, you know, particularly like present. You were able to learn in that environment. You know, you were able to learn when you were getting paid, when you had to go to work. People relied on you.
That's a big thing for me is when people rely on me for stuff.
People relied on you and it was important. Like it mattered. Whereas at school, like what's going to happen if you didn't read that day? Like not much, right? No consequences. Whereas at work, you know, you had that active environment. You really had to be paying attention because these people mattered to you.
Yeah, I would, you know, treat someone or not treat, but like speak to someone completely different to the person that came in 5 minutes prior.
Yeah.
Based on their diagnosis and what was going on at the time. So like it was a real adaptive environment and I think like I did flourish with it because it was like bam, 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 I need this urgently. They're in now, like call down to admissions, call their old doctor. Like it was just go, go, go. You didn't even have time to stop and think about the fact that you're not understanding. Like you just get shit done. You just got to do it.
Get into it, get things happening.
Yeah.
And so you had a couple of different psychiatrists and they all sort of said the same thing.
Yeah.
At what point did you feel, though, that what they were saying was 100% correct for you in your world?
I still don't. I still question
it
if I have it, even though I've got, like, on paper, you could tick every box. I still am like, I wonder if there's something else. Like, or I wonder if they just don't have the time for me. And it's like they're just saying to me, the medication's working for you, don't question it. Because every psychiatrist that says, yes, you've got it, I'm like, how do you know? Like, I'll question them. I'm like, what have I said that confirms that?
And
they like
they not
everything.
Give you enough of sort of a solid answer?
The most recent psychiatrist that I've just started seeing, she's probably given me the most out of everyone. And I think because majority of the psychiatrists that I saw, I knew personally.
So you sort of question it. It's like, oh, but we're mates. Like, are you sure you're not coming from an outside perspective?
But it was 50-50, right? So I saw, I think it was 7 all up and I think I knew 4 of them. 3 of them I didn't. They all confirmed it very quickly.
But we're still questioning it, which I think if nobody has really sat you down and specifically told you what symptom is related to what and how, I understand that there would still be some level of questioning.
But, like, I know that the symptoms that I have fall in line with ADHD or ADD, which is what I have. What I don't know is what tests they've done or what assessment they've done in their head to determine that that's what it is. Like, what did I say? And this is another part of it. Like, I'm very thorough. Like, what did I say or do that has told you this? And, like, I say to them, the medication, like, I packed up my life, moved to Queensland in the middle of COVID with no money. Like, I was super dependent on my parents and, like, there's no way that would have happened with that medication. But I think that anyone that took this medication would have the same effect. Like, it would impact them in a very similar way. Like, since taking the medication, I think I show more symptoms of ADHD than I ever did before.
That's interesting.
But I can manage them. So I'm definitely more...
You feel like you show more or you're more aware of them?
Both.
Yeah. And which medication?
So I started on Ritalin. And I remember the first day I took it, I was sitting in the back of my friend's car and we were driving to the farm. And I remember thinking, what is going on? And I had 2 people in the car next to me. Yeah, and I just couldn't shut up. Like, it was like I was on speed. I just could not shut up. And everybody was like, what is going on with you? I'm like, sorry, I don't know, sorry.
Because it just kicked in the first time you've taken it.
Yeah.
Okay. Did it help?
No.
Ritalin didn't help?
No, I had to stop. went back, saw the psychiatrist, and he said, that's okay, that's normal. Let's try dexamphetamine. No, sorry, he tried Vyvanse, the long-acting one. That was good.
Yeah.
Didn't feel the kick, didn't feel the rush, didn't feel the drive. So then he said, okay, let's do long-acting, and then in the afternoon do short-acting. That was all right. But again, I need that kickstart. I need a high dose in the morning, and then I can ease off.
Yeah.
That wasn't working. And then he said, let's try dexamphetamine. So I was on, which I have been on for, as far as I can remember now, 10 milligrams in the morning, 10 milligrams at lunch, and 10 in the late afternoon.
Okay.
For every 4 hours.
So that's every 4 hours, 30 milligrams.
In total. So 10 milligrams every 4 hours.
Before food, after food.
What day is it?
Do you ever miss a day?
Yeah, if I'm busy on a weekend, if I'm busy.
Okay.
Yeah, I can.
But not during the week?
I work on the road a lot now, so sometimes I can skip it, but I feel that drop. And that's been my biggest challenge, I think, is obviously over time your body becomes immune to medications and it just doesn't work the way it used to.
How long did it take to feel that, oh my God, like I've been on this for a while and it's sort of stopped working?
4 years.
Okay. 4 years of taking it 3 times a day, most days, give or take?
Yeah. Look, sometimes, like often now I take 3 in the morning, 2 at lunch, 2 in the afternoon.
3 in the morning. That's a lot.
Yeah. I feel like I need it because
otherwise it's not working.
Yeah. Yep.
What are like the break periods then for it? So will you do like a weekend, a holiday without?
Look, my whole body functions on this medication. It's actually quite scary. Like I used to binge eat prior to this. You know, even like going to the toilet, it's insane. Like getting out of bed of a morning, like my depression, everything. It was all out of whack. And I took this medication and it was like the magic pill that made everything in my life possible.
Wow.
And I remember not long after I was medicated and COVID had just hit. I'd moved home. I'd, just broken up with my ex-fiance for the 5th time. And, that was another thing.
The 5th time.
Make a decision. Kept going back, hurting him, hurting me, beautiful man, just wasn't for me. And it was just like, I just needed this cycle. It was just, I couldn't get my shit together basically. And I was sitting at the dinner table and Mum kept whinging about this internet bill that they'd like triple charged her. And I was like, give me the phone. I called them and I was on hold for like 2 hours all up speaking to different people. And I got off the phone and Mum and Dad were just like staring at me. They were like, what did you just do? Like you just nailed that. Like the way you spoke to them, you made clear. Like they're like, I've never seen you function like this before.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where do you think that came from?
Medication.
Yeah. So you took it and like you said, everything in your life just got better, easier.
I stopped having the intense food cravings. I could have, different meals and not overeat and not be thoughts obsessed with food and when it was coming next and what it was. I honestly went to the toilet more frequently.
Were you more aware of your body, like what was happening?
No, I think it was just the medication sometimes makes you go to the toilet. I don't know. It just triggers it. I don't know. I could make decisions and I backed myself. Like I was always just not confident in any decision or any thought that I had. I always had to run it past Mum and Dad, always. And I was like, no, I'm got an opportunity to move to Queensland and I'm going to do it. And Mum and Dad were like, okay, we support you. Probably not thinking it was going to happen. And it did. Like I remember I got 10K from my super. Mum's like, don't even know how you qualify for that, but well done.
It is what it is.
Packed up and moved like 4 weeks later. It was insane.
And that was after you separated?
I just had to get away. I just kept going back and it was never going to end if he was just there and accessible. Every time I dated someone that broke up, I'd go straight to him like instantly. He was the biggest safety net for me outside of my parents and such a confusing feeling. But I just knew that if I wasn't there, that I'd stop going back to him. It was just such a like I couldn't not
turning point.
Yeah, I felt like we went through so much together that it was impossible to not be with him if I was physically able to. So I had to physically not be able to cut that off. And look, moving to Queensland was amazing. It gave me so much independence, but it never would have happened without that medication.
It sounds like it's still something that was a huge, huge thing for your life.
I think it always will be.
Thing for you to go through. Do you look back and feel that you made the right choice?
So many people ask me this question, and my honest answer is no.
That's why this is still hard for you.
Mm-hmm. But I think, I'm the biggest believer in everything happens for a reason. I don't think I had the skills at the time to make the right decision. I kind of was just maybe reactive and didn't know how to regulate my emotions or work out what was going on. I didn't, we both gave it a red hot crack. We tried many times and there was no bad blood. It was just something within me that was missing. And I think...
what do you think that was, that missing thing? You'd been with this man for how long was it?
At that point, it was like 5 years.
5 years. Mm. And it was how long, once you were medicated, did you then go through this separation?
Well, that's a very good question. Very soon.
Wow.
Yeah. I actually don't know. I actually don't know.
It feels like a couple of months.
It was, it was fresh. It was fresh. But we'd been on and off, and I'd been, trying to work out what was going on in my head and then communicate it to him and try and work through it. And we'd moved in together, and then we moved out, and then we moved in together, and then out, and then his place and my place. And it was all over the shop. And again, there was no bad blood. He was so beautiful to me, like such an incredible man. I just don't think that I knew what I needed, and I think I figured that if we were meant to be together, we would always end up together, but I needed that time to work out what the hell was going on in my head and why I was doubting this. And everyone said to me, "What's wrong with you? Like, he's amazing." And I was like, I know, but I don't know.
Sounds like to me, and look, this is obviously just a guess, but it sounds like you had to go through finding yourself and just being your own adult self. There was so much dependency throughout your life. So how do you know who you are or what you're meant to be, who you're meant to be with if you haven't developed that independence?
I was so dependent on him, for everything.
I think it was like a growth thing.
I think I was young. It's all of it combined too. I was young, and I think I probably didn't fully appreciate the situation until I moved to Queensland and my life was freaking incredible. And I met my ex from up there who tore my life apart. And I remember thinking, like, when the abuse started, Joel would never say that to me, or like he would never treat me like that, or he would never look at me like that. And then I was saying that to myself nearly like every day and multiple times a day, and it just got worse and worse. And it, obviously got as bad as it did where I had to leave, and I'd never wanted him more in my life. I was like, where are you? Like, do you know what just happened to me? And like, of course he was there. Like he, helped me through it. Like he wasn't physically there, but he, I went to my parents in Port Macquarie and packed my car and Nala, and like he was still there for me, like through all the hurt that I'd caused him.
Through leaving him.
Yeah, he was broken. He was, we just had such a beautiful relationship. We really did. And, lots happened while we were together, like, his dad passing and, reconnecting with his dad, only 6 months or so prior to that, and reconnecting with his twin sisters, and just beautiful memories and beautiful moments that, may not be in love with each other, but like if he ever called, I'd pick up that phone in a heartbeat. I'd never not. There's no reason not to.
You've always got that connection that never really truly goes away.
Never.
It's an important relationship.
He taught me so much about life and how to be loved and what I deserve, and one morning I was asleep and he woke up, he went for a run and he came back and he's like, I'll be right back. And I'm like, where on earth are you going? And he grabbed some cash off the bedside table and came back and he was dripping in sweat and he had this big bunch of flowers and he was like, I was $5 short, so I had to run back. And I was just like, who are you? Like, who is this man? Like, he honestly changed my life. And that dependency went from probably mum and dad to him. And, he loved that I depended on him because it made him feel good and he loved that I loved and needed him. And, like, it was all so innocent and so beautiful, but I did need to discover myself. I did. I needed to move to Queensland and go through hell and back to really know not everyone is your friend and not everyone is going to be nice to you, and people are out to tear you apart.
They are, unfortunately. It sounds like you learned so much through that experience.
So much.
So relationships now, how would you say that your ADHD affects or interacts with your relationships?
I think, like, the positives are I can build a connection easily because I'm so personable and, I'm, social and I can talk to anyone and I can hold a conversation. And I think the downside is that when I get feelings and get attached, my insecure thoughts just keep going and keep going and they're on loop. And if that person did anything to give those thoughts validation or doubt, it's really hard for me then to get back on track. So
so the thoughts, and they'll be like ruminating, repetitive, and they just sort of don't leave. And that's even with the medication.
Yeah, so it's so interesting. So, like, I could wake up and or, be awake from some ungodly hour just thinking about everything that's going on in the relationship and what to do. And then I want to reply and want to react and blah, blah, blah. And then I wake up, take my medication and just give it 10 minutes or 15 minutes, however long it takes that day because it's different. I'm like, no, okay, this is what I'm going to do. Or it's like something comes over me where I can settle down, but only for a short period. And then I'm like,
So how does it feel in that moment? It's like it changes something in your brain, right? It changes the way that you're thinking. It changes your ability to regulate your emotions.
Yeah,
it sounds
that's
like
what it is.
Do you think that's the biggest part of it?
Yeah.
So the dexamphetamine, you'll take it.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden your emotions just settle?
Yeah. Yeah. They settle, they calm down. I'm able to step away from step away from the situation and look at it in a different, non-reactive way. Yeah. And obviously along with the help of my gorgeous friends.
Yeah.
That definitely helps me. Like, you have changed my life in so many ways with the way I see relationships and the way I react and respond and handle it all. But at the end of the day, I can't regulate my emotions. If I'm sad, I'm so freaking sad. If I'm happy, I am so happy. If I'm tired, I am so tired.
It's always those extremes. Those extremes are something that I do see a lot in ADHD. It's either one way or the other way. It's either yes or no. It's either all or nothing. How do you feel like you manage that?
I don't. I honestly don't. I think I ask a lot of questions and I think I need a lot of answers for me to be able to do that.
Questions by Clare.
Literally, you of all people know best. You can give me an answer, but if it's not enough, I'll come back with 2 more questions. And I think my intuition, I always know when someone's lying to me. So when it comes back to relationships, if they're giving me an answer and I know it's not the truth, I just spiral. So,
and you won't be able to let it go.
Yeah, and I need help. I need to speak to someone about it, or I need to whack it into ChatGPT and be like, what's actually going on here? Because I don't know. And, unfortunately, I have come across a lot of men who probably take advantage of my kindness and mistaken it with being naive.
Because you see the good in people.
Always. I really try and I really give people the benefit of the doubt and I hear them out and I'm so empathetic and so understanding, but, at my own expense at the end of the day. And, yeah, it puts a lot of doubt in, like, my experiences and what I've learned, because then that all goes out the window when I'm then in a different relationship. Not that I've been in many, but when I'm in, say, I'm seeing someone, I'm talking to someone and something happens, it's just like that all goes out the window. And I've got to remind myself, Claire, you went through hell and back. You had to restart your life over at 29 years old with your car and your dog. Like, you've been through worse and you'll be fine.
So the past lessons that you have to remind yourself. Oh, otherwise you forget.
I have to make it my wallpaper, babe. I have to put signs up around the house, like Post-it notes, like, you will be okay. Everything will be okay in the end. If it's not okay, it's not the end. Like, but that is something I will forever be working on.
I love that saying. So you need those reminders.
Yeah, absolutely. Visual.
They're life-saving.
Yeah.
And when it comes to family, friends, do you feel like very similar to your romantic relationships?
Yeah.
How those thoughts, the ruminating thoughts?
Not as much. I think in the last, like when I came back from Queensland, I'm really healed and did the work. Like, I have just reconnected with the most amazing girls, and they've never really given me any doubt they never put me in that situation. So, yeah. I think anything, maybe my family, like, butting heads with them, but that's kind of different. But yeah, I think in the last few years I really learned how to navigate that and how to let things go, like, and Tiffy, she always says, Claire, what do we say? Not my circus, not my monkey. And like something as simple as that, like,
not my circus, not my monkey. Love it.
Yeah.
Letting it go.
Yes. Let it go, and that, again, is something so hard for me to do.
You struggle to let it go.
Oh, God. Very hard.
Work in progress.
Like work situations, family situations. If something's not fair, or if something's doesn't make sense, or it doesn't add up, or it's like, Mum will say to me, Claire, let it go. And I'm like, you know me better than anyone. You know I can't. Like, I need to talk this out, or I need an answer. And she'll be like, you're not going to get one. Drop it.
Thank God for ChatGPT. At least you can...
Yes.
Keep asking some questions.
I had to subscribe the other day because I asked it so many questions.
Did you? Like, so you're paying for it?
Yeah, I was like, you've run it out. And I was like, you've got to upgrade. And I was like, I don't want to go through the whole convo. I've just had to start fresh. Like,
I want you to remember what I've been asking you.
I put hours into this.
Claire's questions.
Oh, I know, it's bad.
What would you say to another, like, younger girl that's maybe in high school and she doesn't have, like you, she's not hyperactive, but she's struggling with that inattention, that sitting down, learning, that sit, talk and chalk, I think we call it. What would you say to someone like that when it comes to getting assessed, getting diagnosed, figuring out what's going on?
Talk to your parents if you have that relationship with them, and if not, talk to a teacher at school, school counsellor, someone that you trust at school, just a trusted adult that can put you in the right direction. If you're over 16, go and see a GP. You can go by yourself. I think there's a lot of stigma these days, which is such a shame, around ADHD and everyone just getting diagnosed left, right and centre.
Yes, there's a lot of what looks like overdiagnosis.
Yeah, and I think that does make it hard, especially for young girls trying, like, they're genuinely really struggling. But just don't stop until someone hears you out, and don't just tell anyone and everyone. Tell someone you trust who can take you to the doctor if you need. And if you've got a computer, do your research. You've got phones, do your research. If you think you have it, then you probably do.
I agree. And do the proper research, not just scrolling on TikTok, Instagram. You can actually do proper research.
Yes.
Yeah, you can even ask ChatGPT, hey, how do I properly research this?
And I would also say, instead of just going to the GPs, like starting a diary and writing down what goes through your head at what time of the day. Is there a pattern here? Is it, is there something else going on in your personal life, like relationships, friends at school? Is it purely you can't focus? Like, write down as much as you can, because if you have ADHD, you're not going to remember it when it comes down to sitting in front of that doctor and them saying, so what are you here for?
I don't know. Your hair looks nice. Yeah. They got curly hair.
and you walk out for a script with antibiotics or something, you know, like just write it down, make notes in your phone and just see if there's a pattern and just do the work yourself because, you know, I'm so lucky that I had such a supportive environment when I was diagnosed. I didn't go through the loops and chaotic processes that are now involved. I was really lucky, but I would hate.
And you went in as an adult, you know, which is a different experience as well.
Yeah.
But keep a diary. Did you keep a diary?
Nope. That's my advice though.
But it would be good.
My notes, like you could write a reality TV show out of the notes in my phone. Like there's notes for everything. There's a note for like urgent and then semi-urgent. And then
so you're doing the diary now. Yeah. Something that I know we've talked about once before is the depending on other people. I remember, you know, there was a time where you didn't want to depend on other people to be able to do things. And I think that is a very common thing for people with ADHD. I always hear that. I should be able to do it myself. I should be able to do this. Why can't I do that? And there's this like resistance that at the end of the day just ends up wasting a lot of time because they don't get what they want. Can't do what they want to do still because they usually haven't accepted some sort of help, some sort of assistance. So where do you feel like you're at with that?
I think for so long in my life, every time there was the slightest problem, I ran to mum, I ran to dad, I ran to my best friend, I ran to John. Since being diagnosed and learning a bit more about what's going on, I realised how much I put on my friends in particular, the stress about, you know, whoever I was dating at the time or whatever. And it was just so consuming and there was just nothing else in my world that mattered. And I was like texting them 24/7, like, and I looked back and I realized how much stress that would have put on them. So I have this rule now where, like, honestly, only probably the last 6 months have I started to really break that and start reaching out and asking for help.
Okay.
You know, I think, you know, mum had a pretty hard time when I tried to do things myself because she was so used to it. And she was like, why aren't you coming to me anymore? Like, you know, and I was like, it's not that I don't need you. It's that I want to remember what night midnight is. I want independence. I want to not have to ask you. I want to learn to get through it. And I think what happened to me in Queensland was like so shocking that I was like, I got to get my shit together. I cannot let anyone take advantage of me in that way ever again. And I had no idea I was even letting it happen. So it was like this thing that I had to prove to myself that I can do it and I can get through it. And I did it. I've done it. But now I also really do love my friends' advice and opinion. You know, I've got beautiful people that have, you know, such great advice and points of view that I take on. You know, I've got you're there for me constantly. My sister-in-law, Mel, like she's just the strongest woman in the world and such sound advice. And, you know, Britt and Sana, like Sana always said to me, like, we must or we must not. And she's like, but have you ever thought this? And, you know, just all of my friends give me such different angles and ways to look at things that gives me the information that I need. But I still am adamant that I can do it myself. And I'm a stubborn bitch sometimes. So.
It sounds like you've got a good balance though.
Now.
You know, like I've gone to like the ends of the earth to be independent because I was so dependent. And now I've still got some independence, but I want people there for me. I like it. You know, I like to still have both, which I think is a good place to get to. I think when people with ADHD, when they want to be too independent, they don't want any support, they don't want any help, they can just be in this cycle of struggle and just too much struggle. And then, of course, if you're too dependent, there's a risk there. So I think everybody has their own sort of balance that they need to find through trial, error, you know, try this out, see how it works, try that out, see how it works.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest things with that I learned was when I came back, I thought I had to just spend so much time alone to heal. Like, don't go out, don't do anything, don't even worry about making new friends yet, like just heal. I spent so much time alone that I was stuck in that loop, right? And I was like on a Ferris wheel. I mean, what's it called? Yeah, merry-go-round.
Yeah.
It was like
stuck in a spiral.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when I started reconnecting with my friends and I lost Nala and I just had all this time and I spent so much time with Sana and Tiff down the road, like every spare hour. And I was like, I'm actually all right. Like,
yeah.
I'm actually not stuck in my head, and I'm not anxious, and I'm not ruminating, and I'm not getting negative thoughts, and I'm still got enough time to give it those thoughts my energy and my knowledge, but I'm not like, I thought you had to be alone to be able to heal, but you don't.
You don't. No.
You don't.
You need a balance.
A good, healthy balance, yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad that you found that balance. Finding still, we're always like trying to make the balance better, but it sounds like you've learnt from experience what it feels like to have no support, what it feels like to have support, and then how to find that balance and make that balance work for you.
And even with like romantic relationships, I'm discovering now I've got that bloody anxious attachment, and so now I'm trying to work through that, and I'm trying to do my own research and reach out to friends when I need it. But, poor Mel's copped it lately. But it's like I'm just always discovering new things and working through it, and not trying to give it too much thought, but enough to be able to work it out and, do my job as well and show up. And it's just a little juggling act, really.
Well, one last topic, actually, I will ask about when it comes to work.
Yes.
How do you feel like, I guess, ADHD and the way that you can do tasks, not do tasks, has impacted or supported work?
Yeah. Since being medicated, it's allowed me to learn the job that I'm doing. So I fell into workers' compensation about 4.5 years ago, and just over a year ago I started working for a company that looks after New South Wales police officers. So I go out and meet them, their doctors, help them get back to work, recover, leave, stay, whatever they want to do. So I'm that face-to-face support. So I think knowing that these people who are so highly respected and needed rely on me to show up, that's all I need to be able to get my crap together.
Yeah.
But it was so hard. It was so hard juggling travel time, enough time for parking, don't allow enough less time to get overwhelmed. So,
organising yourself.
Oh my goodness. But when I stopped thinking about it and just had to jump in and do it, everything worked out. And I think because I can talk to anyone, and I've got so much experience in, medical and mental health, just with working medical secretary jobs pretty much my whole career. I've got enough knowledge about little things that show them that they can trust me and I understand, and I build rapport with them so quickly, and it's, life-changing for them and I. It's been amazing. I'm so proud of it. But when I'm not busy and I'm working from home, I struggle.
Struggle with the organisation?
Yeah, just I need a deadline. I spoke to my boss the other week. She's like, coaching, what do you want? How can I help you? And I said, I need you to help me get myself together on a day that I'm not on the road, because I'll do everything in the last hour of the day if I can.
Right. So you procrastinate all day if you're working from home?
Oh, yeah.
And do it when there's a sense of urgency.
Yeah.
So deadlines.
Yeah. I make fake deadlines.
Do they work?
Sometimes.
I have heard sometimes they work, sometimes they don't, because you kind of know they're fake, but it's better than nothing, right?
If I can push it back half an hour a day, you can guarantee I will.
But you're making it work.
I get my job done.
You're making it work somehow.
I get my job done and I do more. So I think, I got to just take a step back and look at the overall impact I'm having on people's lives, and take the pressure off and stop having such high expectations of myself, and be like, you know what, you're actually doing bloody all right considering.
You are.
Yeah.
You are doing a really good job.
Thanks, honey.
Thanks, Claire.
Love you.
Love you too.